core or the center of each of the fingerprints. Double bifurcation is just like our original bifurcation, only you're going to have two or more individual ridges that kind of fork off of a main continuous ridge. This would be a double bifurcation, and then you have a trifurcation where instead of it forking and going two ways from a continuous ridge, it has three. So tri means three. Trifurcation is when one ridge splits into three individual ridges. Okay, these are all minutia patterns. You're going to see all of these minutia patterns within fingerprinting and within fingerprint analysis, especially when we start working on fingerprint analysis in class. Okay, so if we look at this particular section of a fingerprint, this is not a full fingerprint. In fact, this is a portion of a fingerprint. You can see that it is obviously a loop. It's looping this way, opening to the right of the screen. So if we were to look at this and try to identify individual types of minutia patterns within this particular portion of a fingerprint, you would see that this is a crossover. Okay? This ridge pattern, this ridge is continuous. These are continuous, but there's actually kind of a cross right here. We would call that a crossover. This is the core. Remember, the core is that centralized area of each of the fingerprints. Since this is a loop. This would be the core of the loop. This is a bifurcation. Notice you have a single ridge line that forks into two. This is a ridge ending. Okay, you have ridge that stops. Technically, this would be a ridge ending as well. Okay, this is a continuous. This is a continuous. This would be a ridge ending. This would be a ridge ending. You could also call this individual small line one of those short ridges. This is an island. It's one of those really, really short, almost like a dot, right? This would be a longer, short ridge. This would be the delta. Remember, delta was when you have continuous lines that come in and form this triangular shape. That's a delta. And then you have a pore that I just wanted, not really minutia patterns, but I wanted to point those out. And you notice these little white dots that are on the surface or on the interior of each of these ridges. All these little white dots, those would be the pores that are located on the surface of your skin. Those would travel down into the internal of your skin tissue layers, which are connected to sweat glands. And those are the pores that your sweat would be excreted onto your skin surface from. And that's what gives you the ability to okay, so each of these are types of where those minutia patterns are easily identified. If you looked around, you'd obviously be able to find more minutia patterns. Like this is a bifurcation, single that splits into two, right? And the last thing we need to talk about are types of fingerprints. So we talked about the big classes of fingerprints in the last video. This one is a fingerprint placed negative reveal of the fingerprint. This one is a fingerprint that was placed on a surface with either ink or blood in this case. And then this is a fingerprint that was obviously left by an individual, but had to be dusted in order for that fingerprint for that fingerprint to become visible. Okay, this one is obviously visible without fingerprint dust. This one, however, needed to be dusted in order for the fingerprint to become visible. Okay, this type of fingerprint is called patent fingerprints. Patent fingerprints are visible prints left at the scene on a smooth surface when blood, ink, or some other liquid comes in contact with the hands and is transferred to that surface. So if I committed a crime and I had blood on my hands and then I touched a wall or a table and I left my fingerprint in blood, that would be shown and would be obvious to individual CSI technicians because of the fact that it was transferred to blood. As a patent, plastic fingerprints are actually in it and it left this soft impression or this impression of my fingerprint in the soft clay, that would be a plastic fingerprint. Again, you would not need to dust that in order to get a good signature of that particular fingerprint. And then the last one is